is a huge honor and privilege to me to be interviewing who everybody knows as Mopsy. I mean, her name's really Gina Dorfman, but on Dental Town, she's known as Mopsy, which is the name of her cat. But Gina, I think you're a rock star. And I think that your office, I mean, I've seen your entire office staff a couple of times. How many people work for you?
At least half of them.
At least half of them.
About 40.
40 people. And I hate to focus on this as my first opening question to you, but I have to focus on this, Gina. And that is the fact that you are a girl. And the fact that when I was in dental school, the senior class had one woman, and now 45% of these graduates are women. And it's hard for me to address women leadership issues when you're a short, fat, bald guy. I mean, you're the woman. These women dental students, they desperately need women role models like you, because a lot of them walk out of school and all the dentists and all the teachers and all the articles a bunch of old, fat, bald guys. And they need to know that some of the most successful women dentists most successful dentists I've ever met in my life were women dentists. And so my first question to you is, I want you to answer the one question I can't answer. And that is, I have at least once a month a woman dentist say to me, I got out of school and I worked for Old Man Frank. And Old Man Frank would tell assistants, give me a cup of coffee, do this and do that, and they'd all jump. And then I bought the practice from him, and I said the exact same thing, and they don't want to do it. And is it them, or they think, is it just an excuse to say, well, that's because he was a boy and I was a girl, or is there something to this? Is there any? So my first question to you, is there any difference leading a dental office team of all women if the owner is a man or a woman? Is there a difference there, or is that just an excuse?
Before I answer that question, can we touch on that short, bald guy? Because, you know, Howard, I hope you realize this, but God made only a few perfect heads, and on the rest of them, he put ears. You know what? I'm actually glad you're asking this question, because I get a lot of PMs from female dentists, and they, you know, it's a concern to them. And really, I think, I think there is a little bit of a difference whether you're managing a staff of females or, you know, or white college male graduates or a team of millennials. There's always a different dynamic. But as far as being a female, I'm going to say it's a fundamental attribution error on their part. And for listeners that are not familiar with this term, a fundamental attribution error is a way to explain other people's behavior with external factors or internal factors. For example, when our neighbor's son doesn't do well on an exam, we say, well, maybe he didn't study really well, or maybe he just, he's not that smart. Those are internal factors. But when it's our son who didn't pass the exam, we'd say, well, the exam was really hard and the teacher was hard on him and it was unfair. So we tend to evaluate external circumstances, judging ourselves. And I think that's what happens with a lot of the female dentists. They simply don't have the leadership skills just yet. And it's like any other skill. You know, you learn to do a crown prep and you learn how to become a more effective leader. And I wish that female dentists did not build their own ceilings. You know, go expand your knowledge, become better at this, learn how to do this, and no more excuses.
So, Gina, do you prefer to go by Gina or Mopsy? Are you a dentist or a cat right now?
I'm not sure, but let's try Gina.
Gina, I think of you as one of the most business savvy people, because not only are you crushing it in your dental office world, you also have your own practice management software, YAPI, which stands for yet another practice management software. Where did you learn business? Is this something you learned at home? I mean, from your mom and dad? Is this something that you were into books? Or when did you first know that you liked business?
You know, when I went to USC, they had this 5-year program, which was the DDS MBA program through the Marshall School of Business. And I really wanted to do this program, but about halfway through school, I burned out and I didn't do my MBA. And it wasn't until a few years later that I ended up doing my MBA in 30 days. And it was actually a good friend of mine, a fantastic townie, Dr. Steve Polaroy, who sent me this box of VHS tapes And I still have them. I have nothing to play them on. And it's funny, when my kids found them, I had to explain that. And they were like, what is this? I said, well, it's like a CD. And they're like, what's a CD? So, I learned from townies. I was so fortunate when I discovered Dental Town. There were all those amazing people freely sharing ideas. People like Tim Goodhart, like Sandy Purdue, like you, like Melkers and Dr. Ed on the more clinical stuff, and it's just it was an amazing ride. And then, of course, I'm a big fan of books. I don't have time to read books, so I'm subscribed to audible.com, and there's so many amazing books out there to learn from. I probably do a few a week. I go on a hike, or I cycle indoors, or I drive to work, and I listen to those podcasts. Your podcast. There's another great one with Dr. Dave Maloli, the Relentless Dentist podcast. There's so many great ones out there. And that's where you learn. This is an amazing time to be a dentist because there's so much information out there, and it's either free or very inexpensive.
I love the Relentless Dentist. That's where I learned about podcasts. Him calling me up and wanted me to be on his, and I'm like, what is this?
It's the one, right?
What's that?
You were the first one.
Yeah. It's just great, and I love his podcast. I'm a big fan. In fact, the number one complaint of all dentists on podcasts is there's just not enough of them, because most people have an hour commute every day to and from work, so they need 2 hours a day. That's 10 hours a week. So all the dental podcasters together, if we all together can't give the market what they want, you know what I mean? And tell me, and ask me this: why do you think most of the employees in a dental office are women, and do you think that's changing? Because I've noticed from when I started in '87 to now, a lot of men are starting to come into the dental office. Now half of my dental assistants are men. I see, it seems like every year, when I go lecture at a seminar, more front office, more assistants, more hygienists are turning. It's almost like the sexual roles of male dentists, women staff, they're just blurring away. Do you see that?
Yeah, I think so. And it's probably, I'm guessing, because the manufacturers' jobs are moving to China. So more and more men are entering service industries. That's my guess.
Yeah.
I don't think I have a male assistant right now, and he's awesome. And I understand you have a male office manager.
I do. Yeah? I do. Yeah, Robert. I just love Robert. What I wanted was when I had an opening, the lady who had ran mine for 20 years had a grandchild. And that was, and her husband makes 6 figures, so she just wanted to be a grandma. And so I brought someone in from corporate who ran 75 dental offices. I figured that would be really, really fun. So instead of having to reinvent the wheel on all these sophisticated systems, I just went and got one of their best guys. And Robert has just been amazing. So what advice? Okay, so last month, 5,000 dentists just graduated from dental school. If one of them was your child, what advice would you give them? Would you, they're out of school. Would you, and I also want to ask you this confirmation bias. When we got out of school, if you said, I'm going to get some more training, I'm going to go into the military, I'm going to go in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, and I'm going to go in there for 2 or 3 years and learn how to do dentistry, everybody say, good at you, mate. But now if you say, well, I'm going to go work at a corporate dental office to, just to get some experience under my belt, it's like, oh my God, the evil empire, blah, blah, blah. So what is your, if you were coming out of school, would you recommend going into specialty? If they didn't go to specialty, would you recommend a residency? Would you recommend they just open up their own office? What baby steps would you give them, Gina?
I think it's so individual. It's what you want. Pursue your own dreams. Don't pursue my own. And that's the advice that I'm going to give my children if they ever ask for it. I think specialties are great. I think one advice that I would give to new graduates is really learn as much as you can. Take as much, set a CE goal. You graduate from dental school with just enough information to be dangerous with a rapidly rotating instrument. And you just need to learn as much as you can, whether it's clinical or it's business management, leadership, and you really start figuring out what works for you. Create your own vision, pursue your own vision. And, I see so many dentists actually asking a lot of questions like, should I hire an associate? Should I buy a CEREC? Should I open a PPO practice? Should I open an HMO practice? And, my only answer to them is, look, when 10 years from now, when you sit down in your car with a cup of coffee and you're driving to work on a Monday morning, where do you want to go? And with that in mind, you structure your education and you learn and you create your own opportunities. It's a great time to be a dentist.
And you just nailed it. I mean, where do you want to go? And that's where what I've heard you saying is like, well, should you be a specialist or should you a residency? Is stay true to yourself. The best advice, always stay true to yourself. Everyone else wants you to live their world. Look at religion. If you don't do what religion wants you to do, you're being selfish. But if you're doing what you want to do, an economist would say you're following your own self-interest. And every talking monkey on earth wants you to live your life for them. And all the successful people can block out 7 billion other people and say, this is what I want to do. And some people, I can't believe that every year they fill up all the slots for people who want to become a pediatric dentist. I just think, wow, what was your other choice? Jumping off a cliff? You know what I mean? Wow. Because if I had to pick between a pediatric dentist and jumping off a cliff, I think I'd jump off the cliff and leave the parachute up on the deal. So I mean, if you want to be a pediatric dentist, thank God there's people like you, because I sure as hell don't want to do it. And also in my area, like when the cosmetic dental revolution came along, I mean, I'm from Kansas. I'm a Cretan. I think one of the worst places in the world is when some beautiful woman walks in with 30 pages of instructions on how her anterior teeth would look, and you're looking at this beautiful woman, and and you're just like, who could even care? If I had to be a cosmetic dentist on high maintenance women wanting veneers, I would shred my own license. So what do you?
I would rather do pedo.
What's that?
I would rather do pedo.
Yeah, you'd rather do pedo, yeah. So, and then there's people who don't like blood and guts, and I still, my happiest thing is the emergency room. I mean, I like to go in there, someone's in pain, they couldn't go to sleep last night, I've got to remove a tooth or do a root canal, or, I just like blood and guts. And so stay true to yourself, do what you want to do. You say practice management 3 Ps, people, processes, and product. Explain what you mean by that, 3 Ps.
Well, you just named them: people, process, and product. Now, as dentists, we're very technical, so we tend to focus on the product a lot. We want to make sure our margins are sealed and the crowns fit and looks good. And of course, you got to have good product. But you know what? You can put a banner outside of the office that says "best margins in town," and that's not going to get the phone ring, because patients don't know whether you have the best margins in town. They don't know what your dentistry is like. They assume everything is great until something falls out. So the only way they can judge you is by how clean your bathrooms are or how nice your receptionist is. And it still blows me away. I have new patients come to my office and they'll say things like, wow, your office is so clean and everyone is so nice. I mean, look at my Yelp reviews. That's every single Yelp review. That's what they say. No one said, the margin was so close and the cement was great. So we, as business owners, when we're dentists, we focus on a product. But when we're business owners, we need to focus on creating processes that impress our patients and that make simple systems that work every single time, that are reproducible systems that anyone can do in the office. And we need to focus on hiring the best, the most amazing people. And then we have to train them. It blows me away. I see, there's a business manager running $1 million practice and she never had any business training, or, doctor puts all this money into marketing and the receptionist, the person who answers the phone, that most important person that sets the impression for the practice, never had any phone training. And so that's what I mean by that. You bring the best people, you create processes, and keep an eye on the product.
I think it was amazing how out of nowhere, Jay Geyer started the Scheduling Institute and built up a multi-million-dollar business because he could actually spot on it. All he saw was this. He said, well, all the dentists went to 8 years of college, all the hygienists went to 4, all the assistants went to 1, but the most important person up front didn't go to 1 day of school. And he would start calling their offices, and he was blown away. And then he figured out that when you do your marketing, it'd have to generate 4 to 8 incoming calls before Margaret could close one and get someone scheduled to come in. I mean, it's called, how much is a crown? $1,000. Okay, thank you very much, and they'd hang up. Just amazing. So how do you train your most important people, which is the business people, the front desk, the receptionists?
I'm a huge fan of Sandy Purdue, so my team's been to many of her seminars. We took our team to Baton Rouge, and it was probably the best training. I mean, just to watch their faces lit up as they were listening to her. I mean, that's absolutely amazing. They've been to your courses probably quite a few times. I brought them to Dental Town meeting. We have frequent meetings at the office, and there's just so many different opportunities out there, and you got to take them. You got to train your team.
Now I gotta take credit for Sandy Purdue because she was born on Dental Town. Did you know that? She was just a receptionist who logged on to Dental Town and started answering questions, and now here it is 25 years later, and she is the biggest name in practice management, love her death. So tell people, you took all your staff to go see Sandy Purdue. Tell them it was a 2-day course.
It was a 2-day course.
And what low hanging fruit did Sandy teach them?
Oh my gosh, you know what? I don't know that I want to give away her farm, but there's one thing that I've been talking a lot about, and of course, with so many automated appointment confirmations companies, including my own, I think a lot of doctors tend to put their appointment confirmations on autopilot. Or they say things like, never print your recall list again, we'll take care of it, we'll automate it. And meanwhile, patients are not responding to those calls or postcards, and they really need for someone from the office to pick up the phone, reach out and say, hey, we haven't seen you in a while. What happened in your last visit? And this is where Sandy really teaches your team members how to handle those patients. We all want more new patients, and meanwhile, our patients are walking out the door. And if you want to close your back door, bring those patients to Sandy.
And what I love about Sandy, it seems like the best people in customer service, they always come from small town, rural America. Like she's just a Louisiana girl, and just down home country girl. And it just, those people, I look at most of the great companies in America, like Walmart started in Bentonville. And those policies, Sam pioneered the policy of taking back returns. And they wouldn't do that in the big city. But when you're a town of 5,000 and you sell Mopsy a pair of high heel shoe and the heel falls off 3 days later and she brings it back to you, you're taking it back. That's what real good people do. And those are the policies that turn them into billion-dollar companies. Everybody knows you also for YAPI, Y-A-P, yet another practice management. What was the I?
Yeah, practice information software, yet another practice information software, which is just it was a working name when we first came up with it, and it really stuck. So,
but that's a huge venture you did.
Yes, it was. It is. So it's amazing. So
everybody I know, everybody I ever, no, I'm not blowing smoke. Everybody I know that knows you loves you to death. I mean, you don't have any people say, oh yeah, she's a nice girl. It's like, oh my God, I love her. And it's the same thing with YAPI. All your users, they're raving fans. So someone's driving to work right now. They've never heard of YAPI. What is YAPI? Why did you start it? What does it do? Walk them through that memory lane.
YAPI is a business automation software. You see, we were talking just now a lot about having amazing people. And our goal with YAPI is to automate so many of the mundane processes so that your amazing people could do what they need to do best. Your sales and marketing and running your practice. And so what we found is that there are a lot of things throughout the day that your front office or the back office people will have to do on a computer, and computer really just was nothing more than a storage device. A lot of dentists are chartless. Instead of storing information in a paper chart, they store it in the computerized chart. But that information just sits there idle. And what we wanted to do, we wanted to create a true paperless environment, and paperless is data-centric. We wanted the data to work for the dentist. In the old days, you would have your front office print a whole bunch of routing slips and then sit there with a highlighter and highlight their birthdays, balances, things to do, and some actionable things for the day. And what we wanted to do with YAPI, we said, look, the information is in the practice management software. It's sitting there in Dentrix, EagleSoft, Open Dental. What we want to do, we want to bring it to the surface. So when that patient walks into the office, there's a pop-up on my receptionist screen that says, collect the missing email or collect the balance. You can look up this information in advance. We have something called a virtual huddle where you literally one tap on a iPad and you have all this information about your upcoming day, balances to be collected, patients who are in the office without scheduled appointments for hygiene. So it's something that really frees up your staff's time so that they can do the more amazing things. We do appointment confirmations, we do recall, we we have a dashboard with lots of information about patients coming in. Their time is in the office is tracked. We can see, how long your patients are waiting, whether you're improving your wait time or not. We can see how long the patients are in the operatory. And it really is a tool for doctors to improve. And of course, it's paperless. Patients can fill out information on an iPad. They sign consent forms on an iPad, and they can actually read them. I mean, an iPad nowadays costs just a little more than a signature pad, but for patients, it's an amazing thing to be able to read what they sign. Any paper that can be printed can be signed with an iPad, and that's great. Patients fill out, for example, a new patient schedules an appointment, and as soon as that appointment is placed on the books, that patient receives an email with a link to the website where they fill out the paperwork on the website, and the information goes directly into YAPI. Receptionist receives the information, looks at it, says, okay, it's great, presses a button, and all goes to Open Dental. No scanning, no printing, no shredding, no data entry. And that's what we wanted to accomplish.
So you just said Open Dental. So Open Dental is your practice management system, and then YAPI would be an extra layer of basically another layer.
Exactly.
And how long have you been on Open Dental? Because I thought you were on SoftDent.
I'm actually using Dentrix in my practice, but we work with many different software. EagleSoft, Dentrix, we work with a lot of software.
You use Dentrix, but you said Open Dental.
It could be Open Dental, EagleSoft, Dentrix.
If someone okay, so you own YAPI, and you own this 100%, right? You do.
I do.
If some kid was coming out of school now and said, "What practice management information software?" Knowing what you know, what would you recommend? I mean, Henry Schein owns Dentrix, Patterson owns EagleSoft, CareStream owns SoftDent and EagleSoft. I mean, SoftDent and PracticeWorks. There's Open Dental. What would you recommend?
I'm a huge fan of Open Dental. It's easy. It's well written. It has a great entry point. I mean, a new kid graduating from dental school doesn't need to make a huge investment into software. You can have this great software at a very reasonable entry point. I believe it's maybe like $100 a month or so. So it's a great. I'm a big fan.
So Open Dental seems to have on Dentaltown, which is coming up on 200,000 members. It seems like a lot of the threads on Dentrix and EagleSoft are more complaining threads. Would you agree that's a fair assessment? And the ones on Open Dental are more raving fan threads?
Absolutely. And
did you say absolutely?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
I think you're on Dentaltown. You have a very technology savvy following, and so I think they probably gravitate to this great software.
And Open Dental, you say you can get into that for about $100 a month?
I believe so. I'm not 100% sure.
And what would like Dentrix or EagleSoft cost?
I I don't know. I'm guessing you would have to purchase the entire software, and I know it would be a lot more. I don't know what they run for.
But thousands of dollars, though.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But you know what? And I know you know this from my rants on downtown, but don't you think it's funny they call it practice management software when the only thing, when it doesn't do payroll, it can't give you a balance sheet, a statement of income, a statement of cash flow. It can't even write a check to pay for itself. I mean, can you believe that? I mean, when they walk, you know what I wish everybody do? I wish everybody, when they would come in and they would ask for their supplies, you know, and they'd say, oh, here's your shine. I sold you Dentrix. I'm here to pick up the $5,000 for my deal. Oh, I'll write that on Dentrix. Oh, I'm sorry. I can't write you a check. Sorry. I bought the software from you and I can't pay you. I mean, do you think that's an oxymoron to call it practice management software?
Yeah, it should be called patient management software, not practice management software. And you know, you and I, we talked about the challenges that some of these companies are experiencing. And what I want to see is more dentists demanding those tools, because you know, it probably, you know, if and again, you and I spoke about this, if Steve Jobs waited for someone to demand an iPhone, the iPhone would have never happened, because iPhone could have only been born in the mind of a genius. And so I wish a lot of those companies would come up with more creative products, but I think what they're doing is they're providing what the marketplace is asking for. And one way to push them towards that direction is for the marketplace to turn around and say, we want practice management software. We want those tools. We want information. Because if you measure, you can improve. And if you don't measure, how do you know?
I still think the most dangerous thing in dentistry is nobody knows their cost. I mean, they'll sign up for a PPO plan having no idea if they'll make money or lose money on the deal. But they're monkeys, so they think if they're busy and they're working really hard and they're running behind and they go home tired, that's all a good thing, right? And they'll go in there and they'll do a filling for $250 paid by MetLife. They don't even know if they made 1 penny on it or not. And dentists are so smart. I mean, they got A's in calculus and physics and geometry, and they know how many ATP come out of glucose on a Krebs cycle. And then they walk out of a room and did a DO composite on 4. And you said, buddy, did you make $18 or lose 28? And they're like, I have no idea.
Not enough information.
Brought to you by Dentrix and Shine. You know what I mean? No idea. Brought to you by Patterson. I mean, it's just crazy. And in fact, the smartest supply company was Benco. They wouldn't even get into the game. But Benco said, we're not even going to get into practice management software because of all these reasons that it's very misleading. But anyway, I could rant on that for the rest of my life. But hopefully someday the dentist will make that change. I'm always going to be an optimist. You say leaders spend just as much energy on finding, training, and retaining great people and designing processes that work.
Yes. Okay, Peter Drucker, the father of modern management theory, says that management is nothing more than hiring great people, asking lots of questions, getting on the same side of the desk as the customer, and focusing on opportunities. And essentially, it's just that simple. It doesn't have to be any more complicated. There's actually going to be a great book coming out. I can't wait to read it. Uncomplicate Business. You might have, it's by this crazy guy from Phoenix, Arizona. You might have heard of him. Here's what happens with a lot of doctors, I think, is, you know, when it gets hard, when leadership gets hard, when management gets hard, they say, well, it's just, I don't know, I'm a dentist. I mean, maybe I'll bring a consultant. it's not my thing. And then reality is, if you just take the time to learn how to be a better leader, a better manager, then it's just going to be like that crown prep. My first crown prep probably took 5 hours as I was removing one enamel rod at a time. And it's gotten better. And the same thing with leadership. You know, you have to teach your team to make great decisions. When they come to you with a question, I always say, my door is open. Anytime you get stuck, come to me. But don't just show up with a question. Give me some solutions. I want to see your thought process. I will help you, I promise. It doesn't have to be a good solution. It just helps them troubleshoot. And that way I don't have to micromanage every single decision that they make.
You know what I'd like to see you do? Your YAPI is really an extension of your creativity, trying to put order into the chaos of a dental office where we're limited by such horrible software from Dentrix and EagleSoft and SoftDent and all that stuff. So YAPI was really born in the creative genius of your mind. You should create an online CE course for Dental Town that goes through all the features and the functions of YAPI, because it really wouldn't be a sales pitch. I mean, it'd be a sales pitch if someone watched it and said, wow, I'd like to have all that stuff. But even if the person didn't want to buy YAPI or have any of those automated functions, they would get to see your reasoning, because you own the company and you actually paid someone to write the code to do this. And if you explained why it was important, not what each feature is, but why is that important? I think you could explain practice management so eloquently, just going by all the features that, because how old is YAPI? How long have you owned it?
6 years.
6 years?
6 years.
So you have 6 years of thinking so purposely on all these little details that have nothing to do with an apicoectomy or a retrofill or a bone grafting, an implant.
I almost never think about bone graft or an implant.
Yeah, so I would like to see the course on why, showing the feature that YAPI does, but not in a sales piece ways, but in a way like, well, Gina, why is this important? Why would you even want to track that? Why would you need that note? Why would this bother your creative mind enough to have a programmer sit down and make this? I think that would be an amazing practice management, because these 5,000 kids that walked out of dental school, how much practice management education do you think they got? And how many of them just learned to log on to Quicken and generate payroll?
None.
How many of them will know the difference between a statement of income, a statement of cash flow, and a balance sheet?
None.
I mean, it just, and then they'll think their Patterson rep is their godsend, and then they'll sell them EagleSoft, which basically won't even tell them, which way's north or south, or if they made money, lost money, just nothing. I mean, so that would be that might be the most amazing practice management these graduates ever learned, was you going through, and you might not even be able to do it in an hour. That might be one of a 3-part series, because I think that would be amazing. How many dental offices do you have now?
2.
2 offices, 2 group practice. And do you have any partners, or are they all associates?
All associates.
Yeah, and you and I agree on that when you marry a person and you have sex and children and babies, that fails half the time. But when you marry a dentist, you don't have all those social glues of sex and children and holidays and vacations, and those fail just as often as a marriage does. Would you ever marry a partner dentist?
You know what? I remember talking to one transition consultant, and he said that he dissolves more partnerships than he ever helps put together. And
is that Jason?
No.
Or Betty?
No, he's not anyone from Dental Town.
Oh, okay. But he said he dissolves more partnerships than puts together.
Yeah, and I think it's sad, and I like to run my own show.
Yeah. So
I don't know if partnership is really something that is going to work for me.
Well, I still think it goes into our evolution. I mean, the 400-pound gorilla is programmed to control the herd, and nobody comes down out of the trees and walks across the plains until the 400-pound gorilla nods. And now you're saying, well, let's get 2 400-pound gorillas and get them married. Well, they're programmed to fight each other. You put 2 400-pound gorillas together, what are they going to do? They're not going to sit there and let's dance and get along. They're not even programmed that way. And I've also heard this on the corporate dentistry world. These chains that have hundreds of offices, when they go in and put in a 1 doctor, 6 operatory, 2 assistant, 2 hygienists, 2 front, they have no management problems. And then they try to get a little bit bigger, and they'll go to like 12 ops, and they'll have 2 doctors. And the minute they go to 2 doctors, the chaos just goes through the roof, because you have these dental assistants that are saying, they're looking at 2 different 400-pound gorillas, and they're saying, well, Gina always does it this way. Well, Howard always does it this way. Well, Gina does it this way, and they're programmed to follow their 400-pound gorilla, and it's just management chaos. So you're saying you're the only 400-pound gorilla in your office?
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's probably closer to 40 pounds, but I make up for it. I got your extra 100 pounds. So what clinical dentistry do you get into, or do you have associates do clinical stuff that you don't like to do? But your office in general, what clinical do you provide? And of that, what do you do versus your associates or refer to specialists?
My office, I like to be one stop for the whole family under the same roof. I got into having my own office because I wanted to lower barriers to care. And I thought that having specialists and having general dentists providing a variety of services under the same roof is going to facilitate care for a lot of people and also have better cooperation between doctors. So we have a pediatric dentist working, we have a root canal specialist, we do implants, we crown lengthenings, bone grafts, we do some ortho, Invisalign, of course general dentistry. I do mostly restorative.
And how many different types of specialists do you have rotating through there?
3.
And do they all do you pay the specialists and the associates the same type of deal, or is everybody on a different negotiated plan?
Everyone is different.
Everyone is different, so there's no one size fits all for all the specialties.
No, and because they bring different things to the table, and like my implantologist brings his own implants and supplies, and general dentists don't, so it's slightly different for everyone.
Do you put anybody to sleep?
No.
You don't do any IV sedations?
We used to. I used to have an anesthesiologist actually come out to the office. And it's something that we got out of. We got really busy, and it's not something that I want to be involved with right now.
See, we used to do that, and we stopped because all of a sudden the malpractice people decided that was a real high liability, because you can make money on doing IV sedations. You get, say you did one every week for 40 years, but then you had one guy die. That would be a disaster. So we used to do that, and then our malpractice told us if we were going to continue doing that, my malpractice premium would go from like $1,600 a year to like $80,000 a year. And we said, okay, we're done with that. Oh, you know that lawyer you're talking about that dissolves partnerships? Mm-hmm. Man, will you email me his contact information? I would love to see if he'd do a podcast. And the reason I want to do a podcast on that is there's so much noise about you should do a partnership, brought to you by people who make money selling partnerships. So I always feel it's a journalist's job to bring you back information you're not going to make money off. That says, there's two sides to every story. So what if someone wants to learn about YAPI? What's the best way to demo YAPI?
We do internet demos. It takes about 20 minutes, and you can request the demo on our website, yapicentral.com.
YAPIcentral.com. So I take it YAPI.com was already taken? YAPI.com?
Yeah, it was taken. It means something in some other language, so.
Yeah, it sounds Yaqui Indian.
Probably something along those lines.
Yeah, so if you go to YAPI Central, YAPIcentral.com, there'd be a demo on that? Yeah,
there's a little cartoon demo that shows a part of our product, and then you can request the live demo with one of our trainers.
And yourdentist.com, that's for your family, that's for your dental office?
That's my personal website. And
that's your personal website or your dental office website?
My dental website. And anyone who wants to contact me, I'm always I am on Dental Town every single day.
Aww.
I am there. It's like a job. So I PM me, and I will absolutely respond. And
what take us through your private messages. What are your top 3 most common private messages?
A lot of people ask about YAPI. I also hear a lot of questions from.
But I'm sorry. But what are they asking about YAPI? Is it more of the same that once Shine took Dentrix and once Patterson took EagleSoft, they left so much on the table that you had all these other businesses pop up, like Demand Force, like Lighthouse, like things that you just would have thought would have been into Dentrix, or are they asking you about YAPI because their practice management system is inadequate? And also, what would you say to someone who said, well, what's the difference between YAPI and like Lighthouse or Demand Force or some of these things that you hear about? And what do you call those types of softwares? Like mid-range or
software as a service? It's an add-on software, piggy bank software. I think that there's not a lot of difference, except that YAPI is probably a lot more comprehensive product. We do some of the things that they do, most of the things that Lighthouse or Demand Force does, but we also do a lot more. And actually, some of the most common PM on Dental Town to me is, I wish YAPI also did this. I wish it also did this, because there's definitely a lot of need out there for business software.
do you agree that if you did a practice management course walking through all those features that you were passionate enough to program? Because in economics, when I think of you and YAPI and versus remember back in the 80s, the big rage was focus groups. And they were doing all these focus groups, and they only lasted for about 10 years, and the Fortune 500 canceled them all because there was because people would always say things that they think you want to hear, and then they would never show up in the marketplace. Like they would say, would you pay 1 penny extra if it was made in the United States and not communist China? Oh, absolutely. And then you take them to Walmart and they'll, would you pay 1 penny extra if it was made from recycled stuff instead of, Seal's moms? And they're like, oh, absolutely. But when they go to Walmart, they just buy only on price. So there tended to be no relationship between what monkeys would tell you and how they would shop at the store, so that they lost them all. And what I like about your practice management is you probably, for every feature you program, that was probably the low-hanging fruit of like 10 things your programmer could be working on. So in 6 years, these would have been things in your office that mean the most to you. And walking through each one of those, don't you think that would be pretty powerful?
Absolutely. And we have actually some pretty exciting additional things in the works. And for me, it's always been about addressing my pain points as a business owner, as a practice owner. And so I think that a course would be amazing. It would be so much fun. It's something that I definitely want to, I'm going to call Howard, the other Howard, and talk to him about this. So that would be fun.
How long do you think you could do it? Do you think it'd be an hour course? Do you think it'd be a 3-part series?
Talk forever.
Well, no, because what you and I are trying to do is correct a market failure. I mean, these kids walk out of dental school, and the undergrad people just are convinced that they need to learn calculus, geometry, and trig, but not Quicken or accounting. I mean, I don't know who makes these decisions, but these kids walk out of school exhausted, and they have no idea what they're doing. So now it's got to be a free market solution like us to go in there and say, I'm sorry you had to learn geometry. I apologize you had to learn trig. And I wish I could go in there and delete everything I know of the Krebs cycle out of my head to free up some space for anything, ice hockey for that matter. But no, I don't know if you could teach them all of that in an hour. How long do you think it would take to teach someone? I mean, I'm thinking this could be a curriculum. This could be maybe a 6-part series, 1 hour each, to actually dump Gina's mind into a graduate that just walked out of school on the business of dentistry. I mean, you can't do that in an hour. I don't think you could do it in 3 hours.
No, I don't think I could do it in 3 hours. I honestly have no idea. I've never tried to get it all out of my head and into one small bucket or page or course.
Well, take as long as you want and do it as long as you want, and I think it would be great. And Sandy Pardue, if you're listening to this, Sandy, darling, you promised me that you would hold your 2-day course in Phoenix, Arizona. There are 65. What's that?
I'm coming. If she's going to Arizona, I'm coming.
Okay, because there's 6,500 dentists in Arizona, and half of them are in Phoenix. I don't know if you realize this, Gina, but Phoenix is, it's only 1 million people, but the metro is 4.4 million people with 3,500 dentists. Sandy Pardue, if you're listening, and you email her too that we're talking about her, because she told me that she would come to Phoenix and do a 2-day blast, her 2-day course. I want to bring my crew, and hell, that would just be amazing. I love Sandy to death. So what else did you want to talk about today?
No, I wanted to. You keep bringing up those kids that are graduating from school, and it doesn't matter whether you're a kid graduating from school, you've been doing this for a while, and maybe you're losing some energy. I think the best advice anyone ever given me is to surround yourself with positive people. Because there's so many of those, skies falling, gloom and doom threads in dental town, and, DSOs and HMOs and Yelp and what have you. And, you really got to be around people that infuse positive energy into you, that make you believe that things are possible, that make you dream bigger. Because if not, then if you're just reading those threats about DSOs, then you kind of put yourself in a position when you have no option. You just have to go there. So surround yourself with positive people. And another thing, and I love what you say, failure is feedback. So don't be so risk averse. Don't be scared. Just Nike thing. Just do it. And as you're doing this, you're not going to have all the information. But if you think you want something really bad, just go for it, do it, learn from your mistakes. It's not going to be end of the world, but you're going to learn something, and it's going to be amazing.
I think I'm starting to call that the sky is falling, the human condition, because I noticed, my family was crazy Catholic. I mean, my two older sisters became nuns straight out of high school. And when you go into religion, it's the 80-20 rule. About 20% think the end of the world's in their lifetime, the great rapture. And every time they open their mouth, it's the rapture and the end of the world. And then I became an MBA. Same thing. It's the 80-20 rule. About 20% of the economists, the whole market's going to collapse. They tell you all the risk and derivatives, and the sky was always falling. And here I've been out of that MBA program for a decade, and it's the same ones who are still up there every day preaching the end of the world is coming in economics. And then you go into dentistry, it's the same 80-20. 20% of the dentists think that, Heartland and Pacific Dental are going to be Walgreens and CVC, and we're all going to lose our business. And then when we got out of school, remember, it was capitation. Capitation was the big evil monster. Remember that? And now capitation's gone. And then, so you're right. 20%, at least 20% of all the talking monkeys on earth are completely batshit crazy. And you are probably going to think like a product of about the 5 people that you hang around with the most. And if you hang around with positive, charismatic, exciting people that are just like, got the world by the tail, life is so fun, and eagles fly with eagles and turkeys fly with turkeys. And if you hang around with 5 people, and one's a priest who thinks the rapture is going to be Monday, and one's an economist who thinks, it'll be the Great Depression on Tuesday, and one's, thinks we'll all work for Rick Workman by Friday, then life can be very dreary.
Absolutely. There's 5 PDS offices right in my backyard, and we started YAPI in 2008. I mean, can you think of a worse year to start a business? And you know what? It's been a great ride. It's been a great ride. I have amazing family and friends who are supporting me, and it's been. Oh my goodness, my shepherd is.
Oh, what a beautiful shepherd! Don't be embarrassed of your dog. That's a beautiful dog. A German Shepherd.
A German Shepherd, yes. We get, I'm Russian, he's German, we get along great.
Are you German too? I thought you were Russian.
Russian, yeah.
Okay. Oh, so you're a Russian and it's a German and you get along great. Now that's a positive attitude. Not many Russians get along good with Germans.
I think he wants to be a part of this podcast.
I got to tell you, it's funny about the dog. You realize that every dog that's ever came out new, always, when we were little, the German Shepherd was the mean dog. And then it was the Doberman Pinscher. And now it's the Rottweiler, or, there's always some new dog who's not going to be very nice. And then they always find out 20 years later, if you raise them nice, they're good with newborn babies. And if you raise them bad, all bad people. And I also thought the most interesting thing about dogs is, how many people who don't have children and their dogs are more well behaved than at least half the people who have children? It's like, why is it that people that don't even have kids have better trained dogs than half the people that do have children? They can't even train their children.
Very true. Very true.
So we are out of time. No. We have more time. I'm sorry. I thought that was 59. It's only 49. So what? So you're gonna do this YAPI module, and you're gonna put up that curriculum.
Yes, I will. I think it sounds amazing. And actually, one of the requests that we get from our users is that they also want a training seminar. And I think that would be amazing for them and for their team members to see that we're not just doing things. There is a purpose, there are best practices, there is a reason to the madness. And I think it's going to be a fun course.
So you haven't put one of those on together yet?
Not for Dental Town, no.
A training seminar?
For Dental Town, no.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about a digital.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're looking this up. You got to go?
No. I'm going to close the door so he stops coming in. Sorry about that.
No. So on your last 10 minutes, what do you want to talk? I want to ask you a question that a lot of these kids are stressed with. I'm just trying to ask the questions I see the most on Dental Town. I get the most. And one of the biggest questions I'm getting is, Howard, I just walked out of school for $250,000. To be a great dentist, do I need to spend $150,000 on a CAD cam and another $150,000 on a CBCT and another $75,000 on a hard tissue laser? Do I need to take my dental school debt and double it so I can be good like Gina too?
Well, first of all, let's talk about dental school debt, because that's one of those subjects that does come up a lot, and I know that kids are stressed out. They're graduating with a $500,000 loan, but then think about it. They're going to graduate. They're going to start working, and they're going to probably make $450, $500 a day just to get started. And then when I graduated, my loan was $260,000. And I was probably making $300 a day, and I'm debt free now. I didn't get into any fancy toys or technology. It's not the high tech. It's the high touch. That's where the money is. Any dentist who wants to be successful has to learn people skills. You have to make every person in your chair is going to feel like $1 million. And that's where you find success. And you know what? Stop stressing about the school loan. I mean, would you rather be the guy with the school loan and an education, an awesome education, or would you rather have no education, no loan, no prospects? Which one do you want to be?
I just wish I would have married one of the girls in my dental school class. I don't know how I missed that. That was just what the hell was I thinking? I went for beauty instead of marrying a dental degree. But what about specifics though? CAD cam. Do you have CAD cam?
I do not. Like I said, my practice is actually very simple. We're all about relationships, and it's not to say that I don't use technology. You know what I believe is absolutely the best piece of technology a dentist can own is an intraoral camera. And that's no brainer. I bought my first one for like $15,000, but now I buy them on eBay for $125, and there's one in every operatory. And it's absolutely amazing because I walk in to do a hygiene exam, for example, and I go in and I'm like, "Oh, Louis, how are you? How are the kids? How's wife? Are you having a great summer? Are they off school yet? And so, how was your exam? How was your cleaning?" And the hygienist will say, "Well, he does really well. He started flossing a little more, and I'm overall unhappy, but I did notice this one tooth, so we took a picture of it, and I showed it to Louis, and, I'm not a dentist, but I just don't like how dark it is, so I told him that you would come in and take a look." And then I look at it and I say, yeah. And Louis is like, "What do you think? What do you think? Should we do something about it? How are you going to fix my tooth?" And I say, "Well, I think we should act on it. We should protect it. We're going to put a crown. We're going to make sure that this fracture doesn't propagate." And I really didn't do anything. I mean, between my awesome hygienist and my intraoral camera, the patient really just decided on a treatment himself. And then I'm going to take him to my front office, Shauna, and she's my treatment coordinator, and she's gonna close the deal. And so you get this is as simple as that. That's the best piece of technology. As far as the other expensive toys, if that's what your practice is, get them. It depends on your practice. It depends on what you can afford.
But that's amazing, because what do you charge for a crown in your office in California?
I take a lot of PPOs. It could be anywhere. Let's say an average 800.
Okay, so and so that was the skill, the high touch, the hygienist, the intro camera. That was the $800. It doesn't matter if you're the 9 out of 10 dentist that didn't do it with a CAD cam in office or just prepped it, took an impression, sent it to the lab, and 2 weeks later did a crown seat. And Warren Buffett says something interesting. He says 95% of CEOs go to work every day and spend all day just trying to figure out how they can raise their overhead.
Very true.
And he says only 5% will go to work every day and say, how can I make more net income than the other day? And everybody just always tries to make a mountain out of a molehill. What about a 3D X-ray machine?
I don't have that either. There's a lab nearby where they can go and get one if we're doing some implants or something, and it's really just it's a lot easier for me. Again, I'm not saying that this is not. I have a digital Panorex, but that's all. I'm not saying that those are necessary. I'm just saying that I don't see a need for it in my practice just yet. That's not where I'm spending the money. I have, when Lewis comes back for that crown, my awesome hygienist is going to numb that patient. My extended function assistance is going to take care of the cord and the impression, and my team is my asset. Is my this is where I'm putting everything that I have. I have good tools. I have fun toys, but I'm not necessarily getting all of them.
But look where Gina's putting her money in. She built a second office.
I did.
So some people will buy a CAD cam and a CBCT and a laser. Gina goes out and builds another dental office. How do you like having now that you're two practices instead of one? I mean, do you split your time both ways, or are you just in one office and the other one's ran by an office manager? How does that logistically work for you?
Yes, the other office, I'm pretty much absentee owner. I go in, I have really good team there. Actually, several of them came from the original office, so I worked with them for years. They know my practices, and if you have great people, the rest will fall into place.
So you got out of school in 2000, so you've been out of school 15 years. Do you think in 5 more years you'll have 3 offices? In 10 more years will you have 4? Or what are you thinking right now?
Right now, I'm really excited about YAPI. My offices. I love being a dentist, and I love having this playground, this lab. And so I don't really see myself getting out of dentistry. But I really want to do amazing things with YAPI, and so that's probably where the focus is going to be for the next couple of years.
I think you should do that. I think that you're positioned primed to be a rock star woman business owner role model for the 45% of the graduating class that are all women now, and they do not want to look up at their elders and see a bunch of guys that look like me. They want to see the girls like you, and there's girls like you crushing it, who are role models for guys like me. And I really think you should. You know what we don't have on the internet? You know what? I'll challenge you this. In America, whenever you tell me they're the best, you can usually take out the word best and put first, and it works. Like Coke's better than Pepsi. Well, Coke started 12 years earlier. If I say, what's the greatest university in America? You'll say Harvard, which was the first university. And first to marketplace is a damn good strategy. And I think right now we are entering an age where all the big brands like, say, Brandmark or Carl Misch or Gordon Christian, they built their brands doing these dog and pony shows every weekend for 40 years until they died. Dr. Brandmark just died, and he built that reputation by sleeping in 8,000 Holiday Inns around the world. You know what I mean? And nobody has ever put up the first online practice management curriculum. And there's 2 million dentists on earth, and they're just as starving for this information in Kathmandu as they are in Kansas, because I've been there. And I think it would just be amazing for you to come out with the first full curriculum. And like I say, I think I think your curriculum would be best, because each of one of those features, you probably had 15 things you wanted to program. So for 6 years, think of the clarity of each decision you've made by saying, okay, well, there's 15 things our program can be working on, but The next thing we're going to work on is this, because this is important to your creative mind. Why? And walking through all of that would be a powerful transfer of knowledge.
Thank you. We're definitely worth working on. So you gave me a big to-do list. I don't know if you realize this.
Yeah, and then we're out of time. And what I'm bummed about is I know you as Mopsy, named after a cat, but all I saw was the dog, and you didn't tell us his name.
Axel.
Axel?
Axel.
How do you spell it?
Axel.
Like Axl Rose?
Like Axl Rose.
From Guns N' Roses? Did you name him after a Guns N' Roses? You what?
I'm a rocker.
You named him after a Guns N' Roses. Were you stoned or drunk on Jack Daniels when you named your dog Axl Rose? Well, Gina, we are out of time. And seriously, you've always I'm a huge fan of your 4,000 posts on Dental Town going all the way back to day one, 2000. I think of you as my sister. I mean, it seems like we both grew up the last 15 years on Dental Town. And I'm a huge fan of your posts. You taught me so much. I know my team always quotes you. I mean, my president, Lori Zalowski, loves you. My assistant, Jan, loves you. I mean, you just had a huge influence on my career. And thank you for all that you've done for me and my team personally. Thank you for sharing 4,000 posts on Dental Town. Thank you for YAPI. Just thank you for everything you've done for dentistry. Thank
you for everything you've done. It was great talking to you. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Okay, and are you going to end with a Guns N' Roses song? All right, see you, and call Sandy Pardue.
I will.
And that attorney that dissolves partnerships.
Absolutely.
Thank you, darling.
Homework. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.